Hey there, it's Tanya Stokes. Wanted to drop in for a quick second to give you a couple of tips to help you if this is your first time buying a home. There's so many things that first time home buyers don't think about, myself included. Luckily, I had a great lender, and they kind of held my hand through most of it. And if you follow me on my podcast, which is of the same name, the Tanya Stokes podcast, I talked a little bit about my first time home buying experience. And I also talked about my experience with a realtor when I sold my house. So go take a look at that. But let me talk to you about a couple of things that you should consider when you are in the process of buying a home. First of all, you want to know how much house you can afford. You want to know how much house you can afford. And the only way for you to know that is for you to speak with a lender. Let the lender run your numbers and be open and honest. Tell them everything. Tell them about the savings, the checking, the alimony. Tell them about the 401k. They're not trying to squeeze any more money out of you than you have, but they're trying to be creative and help you, one, get the loan, and two, figure out how you're going to get. Now, on that same note, get more than one rate. You want to get more than one rate quote. So, as a realtor, I have a lender that I refer my clients to. Most realtors have someone that they prefer working with for different reasons. When we refer you to someone that we've worked with before or our in-house lender, it's mainly because we know that we have access to these people. We know these people have good rates, and more than likely, if everything pretty much stays the same, you're going to close. When you just have lenders from Lord knows where, sometimes you can't get in touch with these people. And I talked about that as well, where to this day, my client has been in her house almost 6 months and we still have not heard, she or I have not heard from her first lender. It's crazy. So get more than one rate. Not all lenders are the same. I worked with a young lady who was like, she was already in a house and she wanted to buy a second home. And she was like, no, I want to stick with the company that I'm with. And when she told me who she was with, I was like, they have a higher rate than any of these people. So I showed her, I was like, look, your lender is at the top for having the highest interest rates. And I think at the time the interest rate was like 2.75 and her lender was at 3.75. So don't think that all lenders are the same, because they're not. Okay? Some lenders do have a lower rate. Another mistake, not checking credit report for errors. Check your credit report for errors. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this forever. But you know how you have that debt and all of a sudden the people stop calling and you're like, yes, that debt is gone. No, they sold that debt to someone else. And it's going to start over. And you may be on your, 6th year. You're probably thinking it's about to drop off. No, it's not. So check your credit report for errors. Errors like your home address, errors like birth dates and days and blah, blah, blah. Like, just check your credit report for errors, because there are errors, I promise you. Another problem that people have, you make a small down payment. Now, your lender will never surprise you. He's going to let you know exactly how much money you're going to need as a down payment and all this other stuff. But you don't have to make a 20% down payment. You know, there are some programs out there that will let you make 3.5%, 3%. Some of them are conventional loans, VA loan, FHA loan, USDA loans. Just make sure if your lender doesn't mention these things to you, you want to ask your lender about the different loan programs out there. But I don't want you to think that you have to make this huge down payment, because that scares a lot of people. It scares them right out of the market, and you do not have to make a huge down payment. Some loan programs will enable you to buy with 0% down. Sometimes that's a good idea, and for some homeowners it's not, but you have to know what works for you. Another thing is not looking at first-time home buyers programs. There are a lot of programs out there. Let me tell you, almost anybody that knows me knows that I am a realtor. I let everyone know that I'm a realtor. And the funny thing is, sometimes you have friends or family members, not my family, but you have friends or coworkers ask you things, or friends of friends ask you a million questions, and you already know when they're working with a real estate agent that they're not happy with, or a realtor that they're not happy with. So then they will text you to death and question you to death. And sometimes I answer, and sometimes I'm like, Tanya sips tea. Okay, that's not tea, that's wine. But yeah, like, I'm not going to sit there and answer all of your questions about, hey, are there any down payment assistance programs? Are there any first-time home buyers programs, when you knew that I was a realtor and you didn't do business with me? So call it what you want, but I'll be Petty Betty. I will be Petty Betty. But there are a ton of programs out there. And I remember talking to this young lady. I didn't know her at the time, but she had just bought a house, and we were talking, and I said, hey, did you take advantage of any of the down payment assistance programs, any of the first-time home buyers programs? And she was like, no, I make too much money. I was like, what? Okay, so you're making bank, because a lot of those programs, the income limit is $99,000, $84,000. Do you make that much money? And she was like, no. I said, did your realtor tell you about those programs? And she was like, no. I said, so you didn't get any money to help you with your down payment? No. I said, you didn't even get money from the builder? Did you buy a new home or resale home? And she was like, I bought a new home. I said, you didn't get any money from the builder? And I think the builder only gave her something like a stove. Look, when I bought my house, and they didn't give her a stove, they gave her a refrigerator. When I bought my house, my lender, I mean, he turned over every rock to find all these grants, and I promise you, they were like, don't even bring a pen. I mean, of course, this was like 15, 16 years ago, but I'm just saying, there's money out there. Free money. Free money. Now, a lot of us won't tell you about it until after you've signed agency with us. We pretty much already have a plan for you, like, oh, once this person signs agency, once we decide where we're going to go, because the money part is not our deal. The money part is actually your lender's deal. But because we know things, we share it with you, because we want you to be happy. We want you, even though you've saved enough money for the down payment, we want you to put that money aside, or maybe use that money to decorate the house. But, we have to feel like you're serious about this stuff first. And I know you're serious. So there are a lot of down payment assistance programs out there. There are a lot of first-time homebuyers programs. And if you haven't watched my video on who qualifies as a first-time home buyer, go back and check and see if you qualify as a first-time home buyer, because there's so many ways to do it. Like, for instance, if you're married and you and your spouse live in a house together, but your name is not on the mortgage, you can be a first-time home buyer because your name is not on the mortgage. So you haven't bought a house yet, technically. Your spouse bought a house. This is a lot of different ways that you can qualify for these first-time home buyer programs. If you have a real estate agent, ask your agent about it. If not, give me a call and let's talk. Another mistake that first-time home buyers make is you ignore stuff like USDA, FHA, VA, and a lot of times you qualify for these programs. So when you start looking at, oh, I don't want to put 20% down, you don't have to put 20% down. With FHA, I think you could put as low as 3.5%. 3.5%. You do not have to put 20% down. Now, of course, if you put the 20% down, that will alleviate that PMI insurance. But you know, if you don't mind the PMI, and sometimes the PMI is a little amount of money, you know. So if you feel like, oh, I want to buy this house, but I don't want to spend all my savings for the down payment, maybe you want to go FHA and put as little down as possible. You'll have that PMI, and you know, maybe you could just refinance later, but that's something to discuss a little later down the line. Okay, back to your savings. I don't want you to empty your savings to buy a house. You don't want to buy a house and you have nothing left, especially if you're buying a resale house. When you're buying resale, guess what? Things happen. That house has been sitting there for a while. Even though as agents, we are supposed to disclose anything that we know, anything that's wrong with the house. And sellers are supposed to disclose. Not everybody's going to disclose. You know, you kind of rely on the seller being honest, and you rely on your inspector to be a good inspector. But we all know that Murphy's Law says if it can go wrong, it will. If it can break, it will. So you don't want to buy a resale home, be in the house for 30 days, and then you need to buy a new furnace, which most of the times we will advise you to go ahead and get insurance so that it will cover your appliances and all that good stuff. So that's a whole nother video. We'll talk about that later. So I want you to consider not emptying your savings. Like I said, turn over every rock to see if you can find some down payment assistance and some first-time home buyers programs. And don't sleep on the VA and the USDA and the FHA programs. I promise you it helps. Okay? Please don't do this. I had a client that just did this to me the other day. Applying for credit before the sale of the home. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. And people used to talk about it all the time. And I would say, do people still do that? People don't still do that. They know if they applied for a mortgage and they are house hunting that they should not apply for credit. But it just happened to me the other day. And the person already owned a home. And we were searching for another home. And I don't know how we ended up talking. Maybe I called her or she called me. And she was like, I got something to tell you. I just financed something for some ridiculous amount of $1,000. And I was like, why did you do that? But the person did tell her, well, it's not going to show up for 2 years. Let me tell you something. Everybody has an agenda, okay? If you go to a car dealership and they're like, oh, you're in the process of buying a home, but your car broke down, you really need a car, then it'd be like, oh, you know, we could do this where it's not going to show up for When are you going to close on your house? Oh, we're not going to run until. Listen, they're going to still run your credit. And it's going to show up. And the underwriter knows exactly what's going on. And whether they let you know before closing or the day of closing, you will hear these words. We are not giving you this loan. Do not do that. Unless you decide that you no longer want to shop for a house. A girlfriend of mine did that a while ago. She got her credit to where she needed it to be, was house hunting. Thank God I was not her real estate agent. I wasn't even a licensed agent at the time. But her credit was so good. She was looking around on a car lot. Like, why are you there? There's nothing wrong with your car. That's another thing. Don't go in the stores. Don't go on the car lots. Don't do any of those things. Not when you're trying to buy a house. It's too tempting. The last thing I want to say is shopping for a house before you get the mortgage. Don't do that. That'll only frustrate you. Because what do? We shop for the house of our dreams. Like, oh my gosh, this house is amazing. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, has a kitchen downstairs and upstairs. It has a bonus room. It has an indoor swimming. We shop for the stuff that we cannot afford. And then when you run your numbers, you're looking at a $500,000 house and your lender says that you qualify for $250,000. You're just pissing yourself off. So don't do that. Okay? Do not shop for a house before you get the mortgage. Get the mortgage first. That lender is going to tell you everything. Let me tell you what I love about lenders, especially if you have a good one. That lender will tell you how much house you can afford. Some of them will tell you, like, you have some blemishes on your credit, like, leave this alone. Don't touch it. Don't call them about it. Just leave it. It's going to fall off soon. Like, they give you so many tips. Like, some lenders will tell you, go to your bank. How much money do you have in the bank? Oh, you have $3,000 in the bank? Go to your bank and get a signature loan just to boost your credit score. You're building the house anyways. If you're building a house, and that's going to boost your credit score up more. Like, I'm telling you, do not be afraid of these lenders. Do not sleep on these lenders. These lenders know the game. They know exactly what you need to do. We show you the house, but the lender tells you what you can afford. I could show you houses all day. I can show you houses, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 houses all day. But that lender knows whether or not you can afford that house. And that lender knows exactly what you need to do to be able to afford that house. So do not sleep on the lenders. Let the lender be the first stop. Even if you've spoken with a realtor, ask them, can they recommend a lender? You can go with their recommendation or find one on your own. I suggest you go with their recommendation. And then if you're not happy with the rate that you get, you can find another one. The thing is, it's the same pool. It's the same pool. Like, all the pools have a code, right? So they know the difference in whether you're shopping for a car, whether you're shopping for furniture, or whether you're shopping for a house. So if you went up for a mortgage, so if you pulled a mortgage 2 or 3 times, the system knows, okay, this person is shopping for a house. This is the same pool. It's for a mortgage. Versus if you had a credit pull for a mortgage, then you had a credit pull for furniture, then you had a credit pull for clothes, your credit will definitely dip. But if it's the same, if it's a pull for the same thing, your credit is not going to take that big of a hit. So keep that in mind. But I want you to get in a house. I want you to get in a house. There's nothing like having your own house that you can paint the walls and plant a garden and have something to leave for your kids and your children's children. It's a big deal. Some people don't think it's a big deal, but it's a big deal, and then once you've done it, you're like, okay, I've done that. What's next? What's next? What's next? You know what I mean? There's so many other perks of home ownership. But we just want you to get in the game. Once you get in the game, then we can show you all the other tricks of the trade, you know, how you can use equity to buy other property or use your equity to open a business and things of that nature. Hell, you could pull from it to send your child to college. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, but I'm not a mortgage lender. I sell the house. I just know the tricks. So if you have any questions, give me a call at 704-756-2752 or tstokeshomes.com or tanyastokes.com. I'm all over the place, right? But I want you to get in touch with me. 704-756-2752. I'm Tanya Stokes, T Stokes Realtor. We'll talk with you soon. I want to get you in that house. Oh, by the way, if you are a real estate agent and you're watching this, let me give you a referral. Refer your people to me and I will send you a referral fee. And that would be my way of saying thank you for trusting me with your friends and family who are moving to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I'm Tanya Stokes. We'll talk soon. Bye.